Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Master Duel branded Despia deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is one of the most powerful decks to play currently on Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, especially since this deck just got some crazy powerful support. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of notification squad, and definitely check the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name description for every single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Oluber. This card is a definite 2 of in the build because this card is a crazy powerful effect. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add 1 branded spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. And we have a lot of cards in this deck that this card can actually search, making this card a definite 2 of in the build. We then play 3 copies of Fallen of Albaz. Fallen of Albaz is our main card we're going to be using to fusion summon out all sorts of awesome boss monster, and this card is actually a walking super polymerization, which is crazy that you can fuse away your opponent's cards to make fusion monsters. We then play a single copy of Blazing Cartesia. Blazing Cartesia is a really good one of in the deck because this card is basically walking polymerization, and also is if you control a Fallen of Albaz or it's in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is a really cool ability. We then play a single copy of Quim. You only really need a single copy of Quim in this build, but this card is a really good one of in the deck. If this card is normal or special summon, you can send a Fallen of Albaz or one card that mentions it from your deck to the graveyard. And if a card leaves the X deck except during the damage step, you can target a Fallen of Albaz or a monster that mentions it in the graveyard and special summon it, which is a really powerful effect. We then play a single copy of McCourier. McCourier is an awesome hand trap in the deck that is searchable, which is why we just play a single copy in the build, but this card is crazy powerful as a hand trap in the deck. We then play a single copy of Spriggan's Kit. Spriggan's Kit is really good in the deck because this card also helps you search out your cards from your deck to your hand, because this card is a really powerful effect, and if you have a fusion monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz as a material on your side of the field or in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if this card is normal or special summon, you can add to your hand one of your branded spells or traps that's banished or in your deck or graveyard, and then place a card from your hand on the bottom of the deck, which is a really cool ability. We then play a single copy of Despian Tragedy. Despian Tragedy is a great one of in this build because this card has a really powerful effect that if this card is sent to the graveyard or banished by a card effect, then you can add 1 Despia monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card, which is always going to search out your copy of Oluber. This card also has the ability to banish this card from the graveyard and then target a branded spell or trap card in the grave and set it back to your side of the field, which is a really cool ability to be able to recycle your branded spells and traps. We then play a single copy of Albion the Shrouded Dragon. This card is a really good combo piece in the deck, which is why we play this card as a one of. We then play 2 copies of the Bestial Lubellion. This card is a definite 2 of in the build and is a really powerful card overall in this deck, because this card has the ability that this card can be special summoned from your hand or graveyard by attributing a level 6 or higher dark dragon monster. And it also has the ability you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to add a bestial monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of Lubellion. And during your main phase, you can place a branded continuous spell or trap card from your deck face up on your side of the field, which is a really cool ability for this card to have. I feel like you only really need 2 copies in the build though. We then play 2 copies of Sawnir. Sawnir is really good in this deck, and all of your level 6 bestial monsters share a common ability that you can target a light or dark monster in either player's graveyard and banish it, and if you do, special summon this card from your hand. And it's a quick effect if your opponent controls a monster. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you get to send a bestial monster or a branded spell or trap from your deck to the graveyard, which is a really cool effect that Sawnir has because it helps you send your copy of Branded Regain to the graveyard so you can bring it back with your copy of Branded Beast. We then play a single copy of Bestial Magnamut. Magnamut is really good because it can search out your dragons from the deck, which is super cool. We then play a single copy of Druis Worm. Druis Worm is really good as a one of as well because this card is great for spot removing cards off the field. We then also play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom's a definite 3 of them in the build, just to stop your opponent from touching the deck. We then also play 3 copies of Maxi. Maxi is insane. It's insane that this card is still a 3 in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. This card is a definite 3 of in the build, and it just helps you draw deeper into the deck, and it's probably the best hand trap ever created outside of Ash Blossom. So, that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is a definite one-of in the build, just to get the exact card you need in the graveyard. We can play a single copy of Herald of the Abyss. This card is a really awesome tech card that I love playing in this build, because you pay 1500 life points and then declare a monster's type and attribute, and your opponent must send one face-up monster with declared type and attribute from their field to the graveyard, if possible, which is a really cool ability for this card to have, because it outs a lot of really powerful cards like Noir, which is just such a crazy card to be able to play against, and it helps out a lot to be able to use this card, especially since it's searchable off your copy of Thrust. We then play a single copy of Crossout Designator. You're just using this card to stop Ash Blossom and Maxime, which is really good to be able to do. We then play 2 copies of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is a definite 2-of in this build, just to stop your opponent from hand trapping you while you're going in for all of your plays, especially cards like Branded Fusion. We then play 2 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust. Thrust is really good in this deck because it can search a bunch of different powerhouse cards in this particular build, and this card is just a definite 2-of in this deck, especially since it can get to Branded Fusion. We then play 2 copies of Super Polymerization. I feel like 2 is really all you need in Master Duel because this card is so easy to get to, and it's just a really good board breaker that you can use against your opponent, and it's an awesome card in this deck. We then play just a single copy of Branded Fusion. This card is currently at 1 in Master Duel, which is why we're only playing a single copy in this deck. But this card is crazy powerful, but we have a lot of ways to get to this card and even recycle this card, which is why we can only play a single copy because it's so powerful. We then play a single copy of Branded in Red. Branded in Red is an amazing fusion spell. Lets us target a Despia monster, Fallen of Albaz, in your graveyard and add it to your hand. Then you can apply the following effect to fusion summon a level 8 or higher fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing the fusion materials listed on it from your hand or field, but it cannot attack directly its turn. This card is used to step into Guardian Chimera, which is why we play this card as a 1-of in the deck. We then play a single copy of Branded in High Spirits. Branded in High Spirits is just a really good searcher in the deck, which is why we play this card as a 1-of in the deck. We then play a single copy of Branded Regain. This card works really well with our Bestial cards, which is why we play this card as 1-of. We then play a single copy of Branded Lost. Branded Lost is insane because this card helps us protect our fusion plays, which is just really, really good. We then play 2 copies of Branded Opening. Branded Opening is great because it lets us discard a card and take a Despia monster from our deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it in defense position, which we're always going to be special summoning our copy of Aluber or even Quim off this card's ability. But it's really good as well because if a fusion monster you control would be destroyed by a card effect, you can manage to discard from your grave instead, giving you a little bit of protection. We then play just 2 copies of Fusion Deployment. I feel like 2 is really all you need in this deck to be able to summon your copy of Blazing Cartesia. You can summon Albaz off of it, but usually you're just summoning your copy of Cartesia. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start off with a single copy of Fusion Duplication. This card is really good as a 1-of in the deck. I really like this card because this card lets you target a fusion or polymerization normal or quick play spell in either player's graveyard and banish that spell and apply that spell's effect when it was activated, which is a really cool ability to be able to use Branded Fusion all over again or even Super Poly, which is crazy. We then play a single copy of Branded Banishment. Branded Banishment is really good because this card is basically a trap version of Super Poly, which is just really good. We then play a single copy of Branded Beast. Branded Beast is amazing in the deck as a 1-of because this card helps you pop cards on the field and it works really well with our copy of Lubellium. We then play a single copy of Branded Retribution. Branded Retribution is great in the deck as a 1-of, but you only need a single copy of this card. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with Mirror Jade. Mirror Jade is our main boss monster we're summoning all the time in this deck, and this card is amazing for spot removing cards off the field, and it's a crazy powerful boss monster. We then play a single copy of Albion the Sanctifier Dragon. This card is just a really awesome combo piece in the deck. You can play the Gimmick Puppet and just add it into the deck if you want to Gimmick Puppet lock your opponent, but this card is just really good in the deck to be able to use. We then play a single copy copy of Lubellion. Lubellion is really good as a 1-of because it helps you basically put your fusion materials back to be able to fusion summon, which is super cool. We then play 2 copies of Albion the Branded Dragon. Albion is great as a 2-of in this build because this card is basically like Miracle Fusion for the deck, which is super cool. And it also has the ability, if this card's in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, then you can add from to your hand or set a branded spell or trap directly from your deck, which you're usually using with branded and red, so you can go in for Guardian Chimera during your opponent's turn, which is just really cool. And you're usually playing 2 copies of this card because you want to be able to send one off of your copy of Mirror Jade and be able to summon one if you want a fusion summon. We then play a single copy of Titaniclad. Titaniclad is amazing in the deck as a 1-of because this card has a really cool ability that if this card was sent to the graveyard this turn, then you can add to your hand or special summon a Fallen of Albaz or a Dogmatica monster from your deck, which is a great ability because your copy of Quim is always treated as a Dogmatica monster, being able to summon it out with this card's ability. Plus, this card gets really big on your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Ridbrom. Ridbrom is great to be able to play because this card is actually a negate for the deck. It's just a great card overall. We then play a single copy of Sprind. Sprind is really a good option in the deck, which is why we play this card as a 1-of. We then play a single copy of Dusk Dragon. Dusk Dragon is amazing in the deck to be able to use with fusion deployment to be able to reveal this card to summon out your copy of Blazing Cartesia. Plus, this card is a great option to be able to make. We then play a single copy of Despia Quiritis. This card is great in the deck because it does drop opponent's monsters down by their attack points, because during the main phase, quick effect, you can change the attack of all monsters currently on the field to 0 until the end of this turn, except level 8 or higher fusion monsters, which is a really cool effect. We then play a single copy of Guardian Chimera. This card is amazing because it can either let you pop 2 cards and draw a card, or draw 2 and pop a card, depending on where you fusion summon from. And this card is just an amazing boss monster to be able to make. We then play a single copy of Dracostapelia. Dracostapelia is a great super poly target, and this card is a walking negate. Play a single copy of Garua and a single copy of Mud Dragon. These cards are also super poly targets, which is just super cool. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed this branded Despia Master Duel deck. It's super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played branded Despia in Master Duel, you should definitely give this deck a try. It's one of the most powerful decks to be able to play on Master Duel, and it's super fun. I've been playing branded Despia ever since it was released on Master Duel, and ever since it was released in the TCG, because it's just such a powerful deck. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of our notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.